All right, so we're going to pick up where we left off from part 2, and we're going to do part 3. Part 3 is going to be pretty simple. All we're going to do is add a sound file and a button to activate that sound file. And so here we're at, we've got our drawing. Really our reference image, we don't need any longer, so let's go ahead and get rid of that layer, that reference image layer. And I'm going to get rid of that. I am going to add a new layer here, and this new layer is going to be for our sound, so I'll just label that sound. And let's go ahead and find our audio file. Homer here, you know, he looks like he's really excited and going woohoo. So let's go and see if we can't come here and good old Google. We're going to type in Homer Simpson woohoo sound. And scrolling down through the page of hundreds of options just to help speed things up. I'm going to choose this one that is homatorium.tripod.com. Sounds The Simpsons, Homatorium, right? Homatorium. All right, so that's the one we're choosing. And then I'm going to come here. The very second one is this woohoo. If I click it, woohoo! There you go. That's what we want. So I'm going to right click on that link back out here, and I'm going to choose, hey, download linked file or linked file as. Either one of these two will work as long as I know where it's going to go, and your downloads are probably set up to go to download. So I'm going to say download linked file, and that'll take care of that. Now we need to get the WAV file here in the animate program. So I'm going to come here under file. Notice I switched to animate back out of Safari, and I'm going to choose import, and I'm going to import it just to the library for right now. And here I have my download selected, and there's that woohoo WAV file. I'm going to choose to open that. And so that didn't open anything. All it did was add it over here in my library. So next to my properties, I've got my library panel, and there it is, woohoo. If you don't see that, again, you can come under Window and choose Command L, Library. So that has that woohoo sound. And if I selected it, there it was. Woohoo! Now, it's not doing anything. It's just in our library. We need to get it out of that library and on to this keyframe. So I'm going to come over here and choose my sound layer, choose this keyframe, and I'm going to come here under Properties. And currently, I have one little tab here that's called Sound. And I'm going to choose Sound, and it has the one sound file that we currently have, that woohoo. And I'm going to add that into it. Under Effect, I don't need to add anything. We're not going to have left, right, and all that good stuff to it. Sync, I want it from event to stream. I want that sound file to stream. And then I only am seeing it currently in frame 1, which is hardly long enough considering we're doing 30 frames in 1 second. So that's 1/30th of a second. That's hardly long enough to hear that. So what I'm going to do is come over here. I need to be able to see all of my drawing and that audio file. I'm going to come out to 1 second and click and hold down and drag down so that I have all 4 of those selected. So again, that was a click, holding the mouse down, that left key, and then dragging down under 1 second. Then what I'm going to simply do is press, it's here under Modify, or it used to be Timeline, and it should have a blank, convert to blank keyframe. It's not really converting to blank keyframes. We don't want to do that. It's just adding frames, which looks like in this version Animate they've taken out, but I know the keyboard shortcut. And that keyboard shortcut is simply F5. So function key F5, and you can notice now that fills that in. So now I have all of those frames from 1 second's worth. It shows. And you can notice when I scrub my little playhead through that, you can hear Homer playing and you woohooing it up, right? So I'm going to go ahead and lock that audio layer. I'm going to go ahead and also lock my assembled parts layer. And we'll go ahead and change this from drawing. We can call it button now at this point because we're going to create our button here. And so we want our button to show that 1 whole second. So I'm going to come over here and choose my rectangle tool. I'm going to choose probably a black stroke to it. And then for my fill color, let's go with a nice bright color. We can do red, or we could do Homer Simpson's arm color if we wanted to have something complement that. Something along those lines, red, bright, something, anyhow, something along those lines. I'm going to leave that stroke set to 6. That's what we were using before. But then I'm going to come here under this rectangle options. And notice one of these is this right here. It's a 20 pixel little radius. So that's going to make this more of a rounded button. I could change it to 30, something like that. It's just going to round the corners of our shape. So I'm going to click up here in the top little open area. You can see there's my button. And so I've created that. I'm going to add some text on top of it. So I've got my text. I don't want the same color as text as we did for our button, so I need to change that color. I'm going to come out here and I can just type woo-hoo. Here we go. Change the font size to something that's going to fit within that, so I may need to go down a little bit in size there. Notice when I scaled it down, it didn't because I didn't have it selected. I've got to come back and select it all. Now I can scale that down to something that I think is going to fit on that, and then I can move that into place just on top of the button. All right. So I've got a couple of things there. I've got this text, I've got the button, and yeah, I'm going to select both of those items right now. And with both of those items selected, I'm going to press Function key F8. And this time under the symbol, I'm going to call it button. But I want to make sure that I am changing the type. Critical, important here. Change the type of button. We don't want a movie clip. We want a button type. So I'm going to click OK. So that has made this into a symbol now. It's our symbol. I'm going to double click into that symbol. Notice here inside of my button symbol, I've got up, over, down, and hit. I'm going to take this, press that Alt or Option key, and click and drag it over so that now it's duplicated to the over. And so that I have something that just tells me when I've rolled over it, I'm going to simply press the down arrow, 1, 2, 3, and then the over arrow, 1, 2, 3, so that I get a little bit of movement out of my button, just the text. When I roll over it, it kind of has that effect to it. And I could duplicate that to the down if I wanted, or I could even come back in since I'm inside the symbol here. If I wanted to, I could change the color. Maybe this time I'll go from black to red or something so that when we click down. So this is your up state. You're not over the mouse, or the mouse isn't over the button. Here you have the mouse hovering over the button. Here you have the down state when you're clicking down. Don't worry about hit state. That's kind of something we're not going to need to deal with. I'm going to come back here to scene 1. So to test that, I can come here under the control and I can say, hey, test movie. It's going to test and animate. That's fine. And I'm going to just simply choose test. It's going to open up a new little yeah. And we notice right away we forgot something. Well, we didn't forget it. We just haven't done it yet. We haven't added a stop action. So what's happening is when we test that, it's playing that, looping back around to frame 1, playing that again and again and again, which gets rather annoying when we tested it. So let's create us a new layer here. This new layer will put it on as actions. So we can create a stop action, and we want it to actually stop here on frame 1. So I'm going to select frame 1. I'm going to come here under window. You can choose it here under window, or I will show you there is a keyboard shortcut, F9. So that's function key F9, and that's going to bring up your actions palette. It's a real easy action to learn, and it's simply the stop action. So you're going to type stop. You're going to do an open parentheses, close parentheses, and a semicolon. Okay, so again, STOP, open parentheses, close parentheses, semicolon. And it's going to show us right here. It's going to add this action to frame 1 because that's where we had it selected. So you can see right up here, if I was to zoom in or actually come through and change this so that we have big, large ones, you can see I've got a little A there for action script. And that's what's going to happen there. It's going to actually stop on frame 1. So now when I come out here and say control, test, I don't get all that woohoo, woohoo, woohoo. But we do have the action of our button. When we roll over, we get that over state and then the down state. But we haven't assigned this button to actually do anything other than just that. So we need to add some action to it so that it plays this. So we're going to select our symbol, the button here, and you can see it's an instance of button. And now I'm going to bring up that action script panel again. Again, that was function key F9. Notice now it says that I have button 1 selected, right? So I have the button selected. And to help me with this action script, because it's a little bit more than just typing a word stop, so I'm going to come here to the little code snippet section, and notice here under action script we want to control the timeline, because we want to have it basically when we click that button, then it will play, loop back all the way through that first second's worth, playing that woohoo, loop back around to frame 1. So when we click it, what we want it to do is we want it to go to the, not necessarily next scene or anything like that, but we can have it to where it goes to the next frame, not stop, but next frame and play. So that's what we wanted to do here, go to frame and play. So we'll just go ahead and double click that. It's going to say, hey, selected symbol requires an instance name. Animate will create an instance name before applying the code sample. This would be an instance name. I didn't create that, okay? I labeled it button up here, but I didn't create an instance name up here. So it's going to do that for me, okay? That's how it references the button. So I'm going to hit OK. Notice now up at the top, if I had this, and I can just slide that over for a second. If I had this button selected, notice now it says button 1, right? So it says it there. So that's what we need it to do. So this is going to say, hey, on that button, which we just saw the instance name for it, we want it to go to and play. Now, right now it's going to frame 5. So right here in the instructions, it says replace the number 5 in the code right here to whatever frame we want it to go to. Well, let's just have it go to frame 2nd, because if I look here, there's no really waveform. Actually, I probably could have it go out a little bit further to probably like frame 3 or something, but I'm going to have it just go to frame 2 for right now. So you can see right there, we've got it on frame 2. And we're going to have it then play. So let's go ahead and test that then. Control, test the movie. It's going to open it up here. Notice it's not playing. Why? Because we had that stop action in frame 1. I have my rollover effect. When I click down, there it goes. It plays, loops back around to frame 1 and stops at frame 1. So every time I click this, and if I click and hold down, you'll see it goes to red, and there it goes, it plays. Okay, so this is what we need to turn in. Super simple, right? So here's how we're going to do that. So we have that animation to it. This time we're not going to be doing the JPEGs. We're not doing an image. We need to do it out as a movie, okay? And it's very specific here. So choose Export Movie. Okay, this is going to open up. I'm going to have it go to my desktop right now. I'm going to call this part 3. But right here under the file format, it's probably still set to JPEG. It could be GIF or PNG, but I need you to change this to SWF. SWF is a shockwave file, and that shockwave file is going to support that action scripting that we just did. So we're going to choose that shockwave file format. We're going to hit save. It's created that for us. If I came back here to my Finder, pulled Finder up, let me drag it over here onto my screen for you. You can see there it's created this SWF file. Kind of has this little grayed out icon to it. There it is. If I test it, it's going to open up Flash Player. And it plays. It's got the audio to it. This is the only file format that I'm going to allow. So that's the only file format extension that you can turn into Canvas. So then you'll upload this into Canvas, and that'll complete your Monday assignment. So super easy, and we got Homer going woohoo, excited about the week.